Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. Good morning, it's 6:15 on Saturday the 26th of February. Just making my way down to the lawn, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land. Sun's starting to peek out over the horizon. I don't know if you can see on the grass though, it's white. Had a hard frost overnight. The weather's just not giving us a break. It doesn't want us to have an early start to the planting season. It's quite crispy. I don't know if you can hear it in the video as I walk across the field. Got a few things to bring in from the car, but first things first, let's get into the cabin, get opened up and get some heat going because it is cool. A few things to talk about today. You can probably guess what the main topic of conversation is, but I'll catch up with you in the cabin shortly. Well, that's the most pressing thing on the agenda this morning. Get the fire going. I'll just let that build up now while I go and grab the bits out of the car, sort the chickens out, and then finally we can get round to having a chat. Well, first things first as usual, sort the chickens out. They're going crazy this morning. You would think they'd never been fed. They go absolutely crazy when I come to pop the corn in to the pen. And I'll go into the coop and they'll have a feeder full of feed. I think they just like this better than the feed, the normal sort of processed feed that you get, the egg layers pellets. They clearly prefer this. Watch the fingers. I've got the other one scuttling around here as well. They clearly prefer this. The trouble with this, of course, is they do waste a lot. And they get a bit picky as to which bits they prefer and then leave the rest until they're really hungry. Anyway, enough of this nonsense. I have got greenery for them later. I need to just quickly check the eggs. We've had a couple of broken ones recently, so I don't want to leave them in too long. And we'll get a coffee and a chat. And just take a quick look. Plenty of mess to sort out. It's our little light on, it's a bit dark still. That's better. Nothing. Oh, loads. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in there. Nothing. Yeah, I've noticed during the past couple of weeks, every now and again, we'll get the odd broken one. And I don't think it's deliberate. I think it's just accident. They all fight for the same nest box, it seems, which is this one. And in their haste, they trample them. Okay, well that's a nice little haul for today. Very pleased with that. Top the food and water up and we'll get inside for a coffee. Oh, well, good morning. It's the weekend. It seems to have been a long time coming this weekend. I've been busy with work, busy with things in the home. Time. You just don't have enough ever of it to do all of the things that you'd like to get done, but hey. Got the fire going, so that's nice. Not much of a draw in it today, which is a bit disappointing. It's very, very cold out there today, bitterly cold. But there's no wind to really get the fire going. I mean, it's kicking out heat. The trouble is, it's trying to push back into the cabin, which is not good, but hey, what to do? We'll see how we get on with it. We can always revert to the diesel heater or the gas heater if we need to. You've got to have a backup. So, what is going on in the big wide world? None of you'll see me with all this steam. Got steam off my coffee, steam off my breath. Yeah, it looks like after all of the wind and the rain we've had, almost incessantly now for about 3 weeks, the freeze has decided to come along just to add to the difficulties we've been having with the weather lately. Came in this morning, there's a road closed, got all the way into the village just down the road here, had to turn around, go all the way back out again and come around. So there's clearly something. There were some trees down though on that road last week, so perhaps it's the same again, I don't know. But we're here, that's all that counts. As usual, been topping up my supplies. You'll have seen earlier, wheelbarrowing across the field. That was bags of layers pellets for the chickens. I have a supply just in the cabinet here alongside the workbench, but the way things are going, it would be foolish not to have a reserve supply. So I don't know what I've got in there now, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 kilos. Yeah, there's 80 of the layers pellets, plus a little bit. And then there's a 20 kilo bag of the mixed corn and seed, plus a little bit. So there's enough for them to be going at for a few months yet. I don't need to worry, which is the object of prepping. You try and build up enough of a reserve or a buffer so that if something does happen, you're not joining the crowds of blindly panicking people as they try and empty the supermarkets. You don't really want to be in amongst all of that when a crisis does occur. I'll not labour the point today in the cabin chat. I've got things that I want to get done today. I'd hoped to start with the framing for the polytunnel today, now that the wind and rain has disappeared. But it is bitterly cold out there, and you're working with cold metal tubes, screws and clips and drills. So I don't honestly know if I'll get that done or not. A bit of backdraft there from the fire. Don't know if you saw that on the camera. Just caught it out the corner of my eye. Yeah, so Ukraine, there's no escaping Ukraine. When you look at the media reporting, on day one, allegedly, it was a full-scale invasion. Everyone was talking about the entire country of Ukraine being taken over. That hasn't happened. Everything has been kind of focused on the territory already that's been self-declared as being independent and has now been supported by Russia, with a few little skirmishes here and there. The media, of course, is hyping this up, really hyping this up. And so is social media. Last night, I looked at a couple of YouTube channels, and the thumbnails were, it's World War III. World War III has arrived. We've now launched World War III. Guys, seriously? I mean, some of these prepping channels, don't get me wrong, they're nice people. The ones that I look at anyway, or the ones that I follow. And they have a lot of useful information to give. And over the years, these channels, I'm not naming and shaming, but if you regularly view prepping, you'll kind of guess I'm thinking who they are, because you'll have seen the same thumbnails that I saw. But they've gone into mass overdrive with this World War III business. And God forbid it ever happens, because that would be it, game over for everybody. But we're not at World War III. Western politicians are trying to hype it up as well. They're deploying troops into countries that are just not going to get invaded by Russia. I'm sorry, but they're not. Russia is not going to launch an attack on a NATO country. It just isn't. Because once it does that, it's game over for everybody. So if you are following these channels and you are following the mainstream media, just bear in mind, mainstream media have their own agenda. Governments deliberately put out misinformation on all sides into the mainstream media to promote their narrative. It's not about World War III. I said it in the video last week. There are things that are going on in the world that will have a bigger impact on you than what's going on in Ukraine, even if they did take over the whole country. There are other things. It's not about tanks and bombs and guns and planes and ships. It's about supply chain, energy supply, food supply, stock markets and financial markets, which affect you. Even if you're not into stocks and shares and crypto, it affects you because it impacts on price, it impacts on tax, on interest rates, things in your everyday life. It's not about fat cats and bankers investing in stocks and shares. It's about pension funds for your pension in the future. So it's these other things that will have an impact. And when you talk about prepping, it doesn't matter whether it's World War III, a meteor falling from the sky, huge civil unrest, financial markets collapsing, a pandemic. It doesn't matter what it is. The basic principles of getting you into a place where you're resilient enough to cope with those crises, the basic principles are all the same. It's about having air to breathe. It's about having water to drink. It's about having food to eat. It's about having some kind of shelter to protect you from the elements or to protect you from people. It's about having a means of self-defense. Those really basic fundamental principles are the things that you should be focusing on, because you will need those things in place, those reserves or alternate supplies in place, whatever the crisis is. So I wouldn't get too bogged down about Ukraine and World War III and all of that nonsense, because in reality, the crises that we are all going to face over the coming months and this year and into next year are not around guns and wars. They're around the side effects that we've been seeing for a long time, but are now being covered up. And undoubtedly, when they do materialise and Joe Public is running around in a blind panic because they can't afford to heat the house, they've lost all the money in the bank because the banks have collapsed, there's no food in the supermarkets. When those things do happen, this is an ideal thing to blame it on, and that's what it's all about right now. It's propaganda by governments to divert attention so that the public have something to blame other than the government. And in this case, it's Russia. It's an ideal opportunity for governments around the world now, which is why they're all jumping onto that bandwagon. Look over there, terrible things going on in Ukraine, which is true. There are. Nobody wants a war. Nobody wants fighting in the streets. Nobody wants family members injured or killed. But it's hypocritical of government. All of the problems that we're facing now and will face are nothing to do with Ukraine. They're to do with mismanagement by government. So bear that in mind as this situation evolves, and everyone's pointing to the boogeyman and saying it's all his fault. Actually, it isn't. Ukraine is his fault, but the rest of the stuff going on in the world, that's all our own government's doing. So please remember that. Lots of countries do have elections coming up. America particularly has midterms this year. We're not too far off here in the UK, which is another reason why government is posturing and wanting to look strong and in control and taking care of the people. Because in the back of their minds, they know they've got an election coming. And they don't want to give up the gravy train, folks. That's what it's all about for politicians. Their gravy train, their back deals, their financial remuneration, whether it be salary or little extra side hustles they've got going on because they're in a position of power. That's all they really care about. They absolutely do not give a shit about me and you and our families. So we should take care and do everything we can to take care of ourselves and our families. So, same old story, I'm afraid, today. But with the caveat of do not panic around this Ukraine situation. You personally, unless you're in Ukraine, are not going to feel the direct impact of that. You're not going to get bombed or shot at. But down the line, the problems we've been seeing through COVID and the start of this year, they will grow bigger as we go through this year. So get yourselves prepared now. Lots of people commented, and thank you for that, last week's video about things to talk about and about live streams. Couple of things came out really, focused around alternative energy. Someone was interested in buying land. I have seen the comments, thank you for those. They are parked in my mind with a view to doing a video about them. But as a starting point, I'm looking at doing a live stream tomorrow, so that's Sunday 27th of February. So a little bit of advance notice there. I will pop something on the community tab. It'll be around about 7 o'clock UK time, which I think is, if you go to the far end of America, so the Arizona end, hi Heather, I think you're something like 8 hours behind us. So it'll be about 11 o'clock for you. And then we gradually work through the US and we get 7 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours East Coast behind us. So it's 11 through to about 3. But check the times in your area. But 7 o'clock PM UK time tomorrow, Sunday, 27th of Feb. So have some questions lined up for the chat so that we can have a little bit of a dialogue going. And I'm not just sat there scratching my head wondering what to talk about. In terms of alternative energy, at some point next week, work permitting, because I am flying backwards and forwards between my house and London a lot lately. So free time is really at a premium, but I will try and put out something on alternative energy because there's a couple of people that have commented on that in recent videos. So bear with me. This isn't a full-time job for me. This is something that I try and do alongside my normal work, my normal house, and the things I'm doing here on the land and at the cabin. I do honestly wish I had more time to devote to YouTube, but I don't. I really I try and fit it in as best I possibly can, like I am doing right now. Anyway, I've got greenery to sort out for the chickens. I'm going to have to put some more wood on that fire because I can feel it cooling down. As usual, the coffee's gone cold because I've not been drinking it. And I'll have a little think about what it is I want to get done today. I might have a start with the polytunnel. So you'll have to wait and see, I guess. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you are staying safe and well and enjoying your weekend. And I'll catch up with you as we go through this video. Well, it wouldn't be the weekend without the greenery for the chicken. If I get this out the way, then the chickens are all content. I can leave them to it while I busy myself with all my other little chores. I'm going to have to pull the little red tractor out because that's not been run for a few weeks. Might give the generator a run as well. But I do enjoy messing with the chickens. And maybe you like seeing it, I don't know. You'll have to let me know. Do you want to see me feed the chickens, or are you really not that bothered? The chickens are certainly happy to see it. Watch the finger. Why is the bit around my fingers and thumbs the most attractive bit? Eh? Right, I'm going to have to leave you to it, girls. I'm afraid I have got things to do. Watch that finger. Dear. Yeah, come on. I can't sit here all day. giving you waiter service. It still wants the bit that's in my hand, look. Oh, that's my thumb. Right, go on, fend for yourself. I'll see you later. Well, that fire's struggling this morning to get going. And sod's law, now I'm busy outside, not getting the benefit of it. It's time to pull the tractor out, I think. Right, we'll just let that run for a while, get it warmed up. It's not been run for a few weeks, so it's nice to just keep checking, make sure everything's working. While I'm at it, I'll probably pull that generator out and give that a run as well. Well, that's the generator running. I'll just leave that for 5 minutes so that it can get itself warmed up, and same with the red tractor. If you don't use them, you lose them, so got to keep on top of these little, what might seem boring chores. Well, little red tractor's away, so good job done. Give that a little run, give the generator a little run. The sun's trying to get out actually across the field. I don't know if you can see that. It is still white though. It's desperately trying to peek out from behind the trees here. So I've just banged the kettle on for a cup of coffee. I'll decided I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to tidy up around here, get rid of all these chunks of wood that I've got for support. They were nicely piled up, but the wind has blown them all over. I don't know how many times I've put stuff back in place here. You can see on these buckets that I've got ready, the frost on there. So I'm going to have a tidy up here, clear up all around these edges, so that it's ready for the frame to go in. There is a lot of stuff to move around. Oh, look at this. We've got a potato. How has that survived this frost? I don't know how it has, but it has. No sign of the carrots yet, but I'm not surprised. Look at this. Where's my shotgun? Look. Geese. That's meat just hovering around my field. Yeah, so I'm going to tidy up around here, clear out all around the edges so that I'm ready to start experimenting, and I'll show you what's in the boxes for the new polytunnel. It'll be as much of a surprise to you as it is to me, because until you get these, it's no good. Oh, there's some rubbish there. It's no good going off the pictures on eBay, because you quite often find it bears no resemblance when you actually get it. So I've got the boxes out ready. Look, there they are. We'll take a little look at those. Quick run round in here as well, may as well, since I'm recording. Cabbages doing very, very well. The fig tree budding. All of the blueberry bushes now are budding. I don't know if you'll see these or not. And the cherry tree, the new cherry tree, can you see that or not see that? Is budding, as is the apple tree. You see that? So we've got signs of life in here, which is nice. So let me get sorted out in the cabin. We'll, if it focuses, we'll do a little unbox. Not sure how well you'll see this in the video. Clearly I can't tell what's looking from the other side of the camera. But this is the new polytunnel. Hopefully it'll be as good, if not better than, the old one. As I was saying earlier, until you actually get them out, it's a bit of a lottery, because I've found before that what's shown on the pictures on eBay doesn't necessarily always match identically what's in the box when you get it. But we shall see, I guess. Now that is good. You might remember the old one. In fact, bear with me a second. I'll quickly run outside and get one of the old poles. Sorry about that. Hopefully you can still see this. This is one of the old ones. Green colour. Don't know if you'll catch that on the video or not. They're really quite thin. Well, they're very thin metal tubes. But I ordered something a little bit more robust. And thankfully, as I open this, I can see that that is actually what I got. So these silver ones are much thicker. The actual circumference or diameter of the tube is bigger, and the metal itself is actually thicker. Not hugely, but enough. I'm hoping you can see that on the video. There's a distinct difference. This is a good third. The silver one is a good third larger, both in terms of the actual diameter of the pipe and the thickness of the actual pipe. So that's really good. This should be a lot stronger structure than the other one. So fingers crossed. As usual, there's millions and millions of bloody tubes. And I guarantee, if I find some instructions, because there's no guarantee that there will be any, they'll be in Chinglese, a cross of Chinese and English rather than English. But with a bit of jiggery pokery, having built two of these before, I've got an idea as what I'm doing. So that's the tubing. Really excited now that I know these are much more robust tubes than the previous ones. Very excited about that. Let's quickly have the other box open, see what we've got in there. Now then, how do we get into this? Yeah. The joys of live video. At least you know it's real. I'm not doing this in some studio, all prepped out ready to bluff the audience. Yeah. so that is the outer cover. Which is essentially the same as the other one. The only difference with this is it has more windows down the side. And then we've got a whole bunch more of steel tubes. You can see that on there or not. Bag of nuts and bolts, some guide ropes. Didn't actually use those on the other one. We'll see, I guess, if I do on this one or not. But again, these are much more robust poles. And instructions. It says, please follow the instructions carefully. And it's just a picture. A picture of the finished tunnel. Ah dear. Anyway, there we go. Hopefully you can see that on the video. I'll have a little quick check just to make sure that you've seen something useful on there. And then we'll take a little look outside and start clearing out ready. Well, I've cleared out all the way around the sides of the answer bin down this side here and built a huge mound of earth onto the actual sleepers that form the base here. So I've been clearing all that away, got all the wood moved out. I'll be using these, as I have done here, at some point to make an internal structure. You might remember, it must be over a year ago, I put these in just to brace the polytunnel in the big storms we had back in 2020 and 2021, as I did with this end piece. I'll do a bit better job this year. Once I've got the actual metal framing in and in place and screwed down, I'll then build round with a frame on the inside. So I'm just leaving what is there now, clearing out the stuff that's not physically attached, and we'll set to and try and get some framing work done. Deceptive. It looks nice on that northern side of the field with a bit of sunshine on there, but it's bitterly cold. This side is still, if you can see the white down there, this side's still freezing. As am I. But anyway, let's get some boxes pulled out and take a look at the tubing. Just going to drag those boxes of tubes out for the framework for the polytunnel, but while I'm here, someone was asking about power. In this country, is the weather or the sunshine sufficient? If you can see on there or not, I've got 14.4 volts in the batteries. The panel is charging or trying to charge the batteries, but they're full, so it's actually just dumping power. It's dumping it to this USB port which powers that CCTV camera. The others are on solar panels. This is the only one that's hardwired in. So yeah, there is sufficient daylight in the UK not to worry about wasting your money. If you can see, you can't actually see it. That charger is only taking power from that one panel because it's independent of the main cabin, which are these 4 panels here. That's just a secondary system purely for the diesel heater and that CCTV camera. So yeah, even in low light conditions, it still pulls power and charges the battery or powers your appliances. So yeah, sorry, digressing a little bit. Somebody did ask So yeah, don't get too wrapped up about the amount of sunlight we get in the UK, or don't get in the UK. It will still put out power even though you're not in direct sunlight. Right, let me get all these tubes outside and see what we can get done. Right, everything's outside. I've managed to find spanners and sockets enough to fit the nuts and bolts, so wish me luck. I will try and video little stages as I go along, but bear with me because it's not the easiest thing to try and assemble this and video all single-handed, but I'll do my best I can. Okay, we've got the poles for the actual base of the frame just laid out in position. A surprising number of them. What we got down there, this side, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these little uprights. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forming the lower rail, and then we've got 2 angle joints as well. There's certainly enough pipes, God, and clearly the same down this side as well. So all that remains now is to nut and bolt these together. It's a bit difficult because in this corner, for example, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pipes all bolting into one, and then all the way down here these 7 tubes all bolt together section by section with these uprights. So yeah, I'm going to loose fit this first to make sure I've got the poles around the right way, because these, you can see there's the bottom and there's a chamfered top, and yet on the other side there is no chamfered top. Both ends are the same, so hopefully that is a correct design. I guess we'll find out shortly when I try and assemble it. Well, just starting to loose fit this framework together. Not as simplistic as you might imagine, because you've got to get these in place in the right order, and of course you just knew there'd be different size bolts. Which isn't explained in the instructions, but you do figure it out when you get to this section and you put this bolt through and realise that there's no thread left to screw the nut onto. So you quickly realise that you need the smaller one. The joys. This is not quick or simple, but we are making progress, slowly but surely. Slowly but surely we're getting there. It's fiddly because it's got to go through so many tubes. But one by one we're getting there. Oh, we've got some horses on the bridleway. That's nice. Well, that's taken ages, but the base part of the frame is in all the way round, and down the other side So a bit of a 5-minute break, figure out how the arches fit together, because you know that's not going to be simple. And we'll crack on again. Slow, but it is making progress, and thankfully this little bit of sunshine we've got, alright, you get wet when you kneel on the floor, but apart from that it's dry, and because I'm moving around I'm not too cold, so bargain. Starting to assemble the archway, but this is quite difficult because the order you've got to do it in is as I'm doing it now, and of course as you start adding uprights there's nothing supporting this whatsoever. So it wants to fall down, so I'm having to prop, but luckily I've got these wooden supports in from before, so just by pure fluke it's working okay. But yeah, it's not a one-man job, this. Oh, this is long and laborious, and particularly difficult when you're trying to do it single-handed. But slowly but surely we're getting there. It is taking forever, but as I assemble this, I'm really pleased because this has got much more bracing and support than the previous one did. Once I've got these rows in, I'll take the camera off the tripod and show you what I mean. But yeah, this is a far better framework than the last one. So fingers crossed, this should see me for quite a few years. Well, there we go. It's up. It is loose fitted. I've got to go around every single nut and bolt and and fasten it in place properly. Everything now is just, as you can see, is loose at the moment. But the really good thing I wanted to point out with this one, if you're a regular channel viewer and remember the old polytunnel, I had a single bar running across somewhere around this height, slightly higher than the bar that currently runs round on the new one. But what I didn't have was this secondary support strut about 3/4 of the way up the roof, and then of course I've got the central bar running down the ridge. So this should in theory be a lot stronger structure, and fortunately the post that I put on the old polytunnel at the back in the centre, I've managed to get that to fit under this bar, so I'll clamp that in place and that will just provide a bit more support at the back. I'll probably be tempted to run some kind of pole across the middle as well. I'll use the old poles that I've got from the previous polytunnel. So, really pleased with that. I'm really pleased I've managed to get that up today. I didn't think I would, but the weather's held nicely for me. And although it is a chore trying to do it single-handed, I've managed to get it in without any catastrophes. So I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee, have 5 minutes, sit down. Look at that little red tractor. Not mine, but another one. Yeah, sit down, have a coffee, and 5 minutes, and then I'll run round with the spanners, tighten all those up. There's bloody hundreds of them. I dread to think how many nuts and bolts there are holding that together. But no, fantastic progress. I'm really pleased. Well, that's all the bolts tightened up fully. So last thing to do today before it gets dark is get the frame clipped down onto the railway sleepers that make the base. I'm just using these a combination of these plastic pipe clips, and I'll reuse. I had some brass ones, you remember, so I'm reuse them and use these new plastic ones as well, and just screw them in. Soon be finished. Well, finish this bit anyway. Well, the idea is I'm reusing the old poles from the other polytunnel. I'm just fabricating some support struts just to run across the back of the polytunnel, and eventually, I'll not get it done today because I'm losing the light already. I'll do this around a number of places on the polytunnel frame, including this front where the door's going to be, just to give it that little bit more support, in addition to the wood framing that I get round the inside. So recycle, reuse, hopefully that'll work. Well, there we go, that's the bar fitted. I just bolted it onto the existing frame where it's mounted a junction anyway. Run it across, just trimmed it to size, flattened the end off and screwed it into this post. So if I do the same on the other side, I might be tempted to put some at the top as well, but not today because it's getting dark. I'll finish this one. I think I'll probably call it a day then. Well, that's the two bottom braces in. I don't know why they don't manufacture them with these, but clearly they don't. And you know there's always one last thing, so I just couldn't resist doing two more. It's a bit of a fiddle because you just bend in metal, and it's a bit of a Heath Robinson job, but it's in, it's secure, and it'll do the job. This gable end now is a million times stronger than it would be if I hadn't done what I've done. So I am going to call it a day now. I need to tidy all the tools away, but clearly now that's got me thinking about how I can brace the rest of this frame. Round about here in the middle, it starts to flex, and of course at the end where the door is, there's nothing at all. It's just an open space. So clearly I'll need to do something here as well. I'll rethink the door, because the door that comes with it is just simply two zips like it was on the old polytunnel. So I think I'll definitely at some point fabricate a frame to make a proper door, but not now. Because I have worn myself out today, but I'm really pleased with progress. The frame is up, it's braced at the back, which is a bonus. I feel a lot more confident now with that. It gives me a chance to have a little think about what else I can do elsewhere. Now I know that those tubes can be fabricated and reused. I'll no doubt come up with a million different ways. So enough, I need to tidy up, get locked up and get myself off home. Well, that's it for today. It's been a long day, but I've achieved a lot today. Might not look like it. Oh, he's just put that frame up. But yeah, it's took a bit of doing that. And I can't stop patting myself on the back for reusing those old poles and just cutting them up a little bit, doing a bit of metal bending, drilled some holes, and I've now got a frame across the back which didn't exist. So tip to the designers, you really should have something at the back. But yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm also pleased that sun stayed out today, because if it had been the same as this week with the wind and the rain, I'd have got nothing done at all. So get myself back off home, get the video uploaded for you wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Hope you're staying safe and well, and hope you're enjoying your weekend. Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. How's polytunnel looking? Not a bad day's work there, I think, getting that frame up. I'm really pleased that I got that done. Hopefully over the coming weeks we'll finish off the bracing and get the cover on so we're ready for planting. What are you up to? Do let me know in the comment section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.